Hey, what's going on, eSkaters? Nate from eSkate Hub here, and today I've got the Exway X1 Pro electric skateboard review for you. Firstly, I just want to say a quick thanks to everybody who shows up to hear what I have to say about electric skateboards. It really means the world to me, so thank you. Anyway, I want to put this Exway X1 Pro through its paces and do a full suite of tests to show you exactly how it is in real life. So let's get to it. Alright, so before we take it out to do any tests, I want to talk quickly about the deck, the components, and some of the specs so that we understand what this board is actually made for. So when we go out and test it, we know what to expect. So this is the Exway X1 Pro, not to be confused with the Riot. We know that this is the Pro because it's got hub motors, whereas the Riot has belt-driven motors. You can buy that separately, or you can buy the Exway X1 Pro Riot straight up from Exway. I'll start with the deck. Now, it's a very stiff deck. It probably has the least amount of flex in a board that I've ever ridden before. I do like the concave shape on it. My feet feel really comfortable at the ends of the board. I've got tons of control when turning, and I can feel myself on the board. I don't feel like I'm going to be slipping off at all. It has this shock absorbing grip tape, which is basically just a thin layer of foam underneath the tape, which helps to absorb some of those vibrations, and honestly I think it does a pretty good job of doing that. So the wheels are 85mm 80A with a 56mm contact area, and man, I've got to say that for 80A wheels they're quite stiff, which I mean, it's awesome for sliding, especially with a stiff deck, but when I was going around corners at high speeds, I felt a little bit uneasy. I had to get down really low to feel comfortable going around them at high speeds. I haven't even got 100 kilometers on my board yet, and I'm already seeing some slicing in the rear wheels. The front wheels are fine and perfect. It's just these rear hubs that seem to be splitting a little bit more. Luckily, they send you replaceable PUs. They're orange, which is a nice fresh touch. So it's easy to replace your wheels when they do start to chunk. So the trucks, we've got the Seismic Aeon trucks, which I think are the same as the X1. They're pretty good. I like them. I haven't yet had the speed wobbles that much, although I did tighten these trucks up a lot when I got them because they were just so loose it was almost unrideable. However, one pain point with these trucks is that if you have a look at the nose and the tail of the board, look, no screws. So how are you supposed to change them if anything goes wrong? It'll be a nightmare. You're gonna have to rip up this grip tape. And what if these bolts come loose? It's gonna be really hard to fix this up. You know, I'd be interested to see how they've implemented these screws on the top of the board. If it's got any locking mechanism, that would be really interesting to see. Maybe I will rip up the grip tape and see what's going on under there. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to pull this board apart and see what's going on in the insides. So we've got dual hub motors in the back, and Exway riff off a whole bunch of impressive specs on the website. If you want to check it out, the link is down below, but I think most people just want to know how fast, how far, and can it go up hills. But we'll get to that. The X1 Pro has a massive 193 watt-hour battery, which is very impressive considering it sits inside this deck. It's a big step up from the X1, so heaps more range, But because the battery is so big, you're not going to be able to take it on any airlines, which I'm struggling with at the moment. Also, you can't change the battery. If you did want to do it for some reason, you would have to rip up all of this grip tape, including the foam, which I don't think is going to be very fun. So the remote. I like this remote. You know, it's small and compact and fits in my hand perfectly. It's got a nice rubbery matte finish. The thumb wheel is, it's on. The thumb wheel has perfect resistance. And the display, I can see the display in broad daylight, unless I'm wearing my sunnies. And it just shows the basic necessities, like your current speed, the board battery, the remote battery, the direction in which it's going, and your speed mode. Not a whole lot of information, but enough for what you need while you're riding. It's super easy to use. To turn the board on and off, all you do is press and hold that button until it vibrates. The board turns off. Press and hold that button. The board turns on when it vibrates, and it instantly connects to the board. To change modes, just click that button once. Vibrates, it changes modes. Click it again. Vibrates, it changes modes. To go into reverse, you triple click the button. Now you're in reverse. And it also has cruise control, where you double click it while you're doing a speed less than 20 kilometers. But I tried doing this and it didn't really work out that well for me. The thumb wheel seems to be quite sensitive. So if you're just holding the remote, jiggling it around, maybe that's what's turning off the cruise control. I don't know, I couldn't get it working that well. But there are some other handy features that you can customize in the app. So let's jump in there and have a look, shall we? All right, let's check out this app, Exway board app. So first thing you need to do is pair the board with the app. The remote needs to be turned on with the board turned on, and you just hit connecting devices, Exway please. Sweet, so you can see my board is there. Odometer, 62 kilometers. I can't wait to do more. Reduce carbon emissions, 13.7 kilograms. I don't know what that's measured against, but it makes me feel good. Safe mode. This is pretty much like where you can set the max gear for your rider. When you get the board, safe mode is on and it's locked to level 2, which means you can't go faster than 25 kilometers an hour until you reach 10 kilometers on the odometer. But if you connect it to the app, you can just go turn it off, it's done. This is good, I think, for limiting the speed modes for beginners and your kids, if you're gonna buy this board for your kids, which I think is a great idea. Standby mode, this is the connection between the remote and the board. I've got it set off, which means whenever I turn the remote on, the board turns on automatically. You can set it so that this feature turns off after a certain amount of time. So if you were to turn that on and set it to 1 day, it means that after 1 day of not using your board, you'll have to turn on the remote and the board on from the board. I like that off. It uses up a little bit more battery. Change gears while moving, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That means that while you're riding, you can change your mode from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. But if it's off, that means you have to come to a complete stop before you can change the mode. I just keep that off for safety. If anyone else wants to try my board, they can't accidentally click that button and send themselves flying. Free mode is like the boosted style reverse. It means when you apply the brakes, as soon as you come to a complete stop, the board will move into reverse. I don't like that, so I turn that off. Cruise control, I mentioned the cruise control earlier about the remotes. I don't think it works that well, but you can opt to have cruise control on or off. I keep it off. Turbo mode is your unlocking of your max speed. They say here that it is capped at 50% availability until you turn turbo on. It uses up a little bit more battery, but I think you want that extra speed. Pick your wheel size. I got 85 millimeters on here. Select your motor system, hubs or riots. Oh yeah, this wheel size, that will affect the speed that you get a reading on the remote and your odometer on your app. So it's always important to make sure that that is selected correctly. And down here, here's the fun stuff. When you get the board, it's in default mode. So this is your acceleration settings and these are your brake settings. You can also select beginner, makes everything a lot easier, I suppose. Or you can click custom, or by moving any of these things, it automatically switches to custom. So you can ramp all this up so the acceleration is maxed out and the braking is maxed out, or you can pick exactly where you want your power to be. Lastly, firmware upgrade. It's checking to see if I need an update. I already know that I'm up to date, so I won't need it. Please make sure when you get your board, you check this, otherwise you might have yourself a Samuel James situation on your hands. Then lastly, you head over to dash, it'll connect via Bluetooth. The remote will go back into riding mode. Let me just turn this baby over and you will see I'm in level 4 and I've got 84% battery. Same on my app here. Accelerate. 46.9, it says 46 here. So you're able to see here your current speed, the battery level, the distance remaining, your power output, the distance that you've traveled on this trip, your voltage, your battery temperature, ESC temperature, and motor temperature. A ton of awesome information there. If you're into that kind of thing, it's good to have there, and it's awesome to learn this stuff because as soon as your motors or your ESC get too hot, turn the thing off to preserve and make sure that your board lasts for as long as possible. And also night mode. Everyone loves a good night mode. In the tutorial section, you've got your quick start guide. It's basically like, be safe, this is how you use it, this is how you ride it. Your manuals, you've got the manuals for all the different boards and settings and different languages. And an FAQ section for answers, but it's still all the answers for the X1. So that's the remote. The accessories you get: spare PU tires, nice, T-tool, hex key, a board charger, and a micro USB cable to charge the remote. But that's it, pretty simple. The user manual's on the app. What else do you want? So that's it, that's the board. Let's go take this thing outside and do all the tests. I know you've been waiting for it, so let's get to it. I'll start with the acceleration test, and what I did was I kept the board in 4th gear every time so that the top speed wouldn't affect the acceleration curve at all. And I just continually went back into the app and changed the acceleration level with that slider. So the first level of acceleration was 1%, because if you start at 0%, 0% is 0 acceleration. So you don't move at all. So 1%, this is what the acceleration looks like. At 30%, this is what the acceleration looks like. This is 70%. And last but not least, this is 100% acceleration. So I'm not sure if you can tell quite clearly in the video, but you can feel the acceleration curve differ quite a lot between each of those stages. Braking tests are really hard to show in video because it's all about the feeling, but I'll do my best to show you how long it takes to brake in each braking power setting. So what I did was I set gear 1 to a braking power setting of 0%, and I rode the board at top speed, which is 15 kilometers an hour, and I applied the brakes. And this is how long it took me to stop. Then I put the board into gear 2, and I set the braking power setting to 30%, and I rode at 20 kilometers an hour, and this is how long it took me to brake. I then put the board into gear 3 and set the braking power to 70%. I rode at 20 kilometers an hour and applied the brakes fully, and this is how long it took me to stop. Then finally, I put the board into gear 4 with the braking power setting at 100%, rode at 20 kilometers an hour yet again, and this is how long it took me to stop. What I will say about the brakes is that at 0%, you kind of just come to a rolling stop and it's really, really smooth. But at 100%, the brakes apply very quickly and you can feel it coming on, but you're not gonna get thrown off. It's not that strong. So doing the hill climb test was a little bit difficult because I'm currently in Portugal and a lot of the really steep hills are super steep and are cobblestoned. So it's not really a great test to climb up those hills. However, I did find one street which was half decent, and it was about a 10% hill grade, and the board climbed up that so easily. I have no doubt that it could do 20, maybe 25%, 30%. I think it'll be pushing it, but I do think it'll get up there. So the top speed that Exway say that the X1 Pro can do is 45 kilometers, which is 28 miles per hour. But on my range tests, I got 46.1 kilometers an hour, which is 28.6 miles per hour, which is a tad over, and you know, I can't be upset about that top speed. So I ended up doing 2 range tests, and I rode in the 4th gear for the whole time and used the race mode just for simplicity. I rode really hard, I carved a ton, hit the top speeds a lot. I rode just like I would ride every other day and what I expect most riders will be riding. My average speed was around 20 kilometers an hour, which is 12.5 miles per hour. I rode with a headwind on the way there, and I rode with the wind on the way back. The roads were alright, about 90% was completely smooth and 10% were absolute trash, nearly unrideable. In the end, my first ride I got 17.2 kilometers, which is 10.6 miles, and my second ride I got 18.1 kilometers, which is 11.2 miles. The Exway website says you can get about 26 kilometers or 25 kilometers. They're not really clear on that, but considering how hard I was riding and the conditions that I was in, 18 kilometers, 11.2 miles, I don't think that's that bad. One thing I want to tell you about the end of the range test was at 7% battery, the accelerator just stopped working and I rolled to a complete stop. And once I did stop, I tried the accelerator again and I got moving very slowly, eventually hitting up to 25 kilometers an hour. When it got to 6% battery, the same thing happened again. I just started rolling and I couldn't accelerate, although I could apply the brakes, which is good. After this, I thought no one's gonna ride like this, so I ended the range test there. Just a little bit disappointing that the battery only goes down to really 7%, not all the way to 0. So this is an awesome commuter board. You know, it's got a decent range. You feel quite comfortable on the board. I think it's because of this absorption tape. The deck is really stiff, and these 80A wheels are on the stiffer side, so it's awesome for sliding if you're into that. But another thing this is great for is for beginners, or you want to buy a board for your youngster, go with the Exway, because you can apply limits with that app and you can control every aspect of the riding experience for them and make sure that they're safe at all times. And as they get more confident, you can allow more and more power so they can learn how to ride in a safe manner and eventually become pro riders. Things that I don't like is how you access the battery and the trucks. You have to rip off the grip tape and that foam to get in there, which means you're gonna have to reapply not only grip tape, but this foam padding as well. The other thing was the remote. When it hits the 7%, you lose your power and it's pretty much the end of your ride. Aside from that, I really like the X1 Pro. You know, it's got this awesome concave shape, which is awesome for turning. I feel comfortable on the board most of the time. It's awesome to slide on. The remote is cool, but my favorite thing is the app. You can customize everything about the board and really have the riding style that you want. Exway have done well to cater for a lot of different riders in this aspect. So the Exway X1 Pro is $999, just under the 1K mark, which is awesome. The Riot is $1,099, or you can get the combo kit, which is the hub motors and the Riot motors, for $1,399. Or you can just buy the Riot kit separately for $399. You can get it online from the Exway website, the link is in the description, or there are a bunch of retail stores around the world that you can pick it up and have them serviced there too. So that is the Exway X1 Pro electric skateboard review. I hope you liked it. I really enjoyed testing this board. It's been one of the most fun reviews that I've gotten to do lately. If you like this video, hit that thumb button, and if you want to see more electric skateboard reviews, and in the future I'm going to start releasing videos about electric skateboard news and updates and upcoming things, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Also, head down to the comment section below and let me know if you've got any questions. I'm always willing to help out and answer your questions. So a quick disclaimer, Exway did graciously send me this board, so thank you for that, I really do appreciate it. But I wasn't sponsored to do this video in any way, shape or form, so it is completely unbiased. There's nothing more important than me giving my honest opinion to you guys so that you can pick your board that's right for you. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I can't wait until the next one. I'll see you soon. What do you think?
Whoa, it's sick! Not sure if you can see, but I literally just lost my board.
Hi, I'm Nate from eSkate Hub, and today we're reviewing the Exway X1 Pro. In the box you get a T-tool, 88mm polyurethane wheels, a remote, and it was a beautiful box design. Last one to hit that thumb has a drink. Hey skaters, Nate here from eSkate Hub. Thanks for showing up today. You know, it really means a lot that you keep turning up to see what I've got to say about electric skateboards. So thank you. Is that what